Welcome to the presentation entitled BrainViz, a scientific gateway for deploying AI methods to be used as a clinical decision support system for treatment in brain disorders. I am Jeremy Bockholt, a software engineering manager from the Center for Translational Research in Neuroimaging and Data Science, TRENDS. TRENDS is a relatively new center that supports faculty, staff, and students spanning 3 institutes in Atlanta, Georgia. This presentation presents an exciting new scientific gateway for brain disorders researchers. For any correspondence regarding this presentation, please use the email address listed on this slide. Line for the presentation. I will first give an introduction to the BrainViz scientific gateway. Next, implementation, where an overview of the generic features of the scientific gateway will be provided. Next, specifics of a reference implementation that provides access to a previously trained AI model that classifies medication class response in 2 common brain disorders. Further, I will discuss how this scientific gateway will get expanded in our future work. Finally, I will wrap up the presentation and provide conclusions and lessons learned thus far with the implementation of this scientific gateway. The BrainViz Scientific Gateway. This novel scientific gateway is comprised of 5 components typically found in scientific gateways. First, analysis tools. Second, visualization tools. Third, collaboration capabilities. Fourth, cluster computing. And fifth, a data repository. The information architecture for this scientific gateway uses multiple tiers. The front end of the system is written in the Python-based framework Django. The middleware for the system utilizes Django's REST API. The back end for the system uses the Postgres SQL relational database management system. BrainViz has been deployed to Amazon Web Services and follows a configuration pattern with the architecture meeting HIPAA compliance. We have followed the AWS white paper recommendation for HIPAA compliant architecture using AWS. A sample diagram is included on the left portion of this slide. The web application tier that hosts Django API and the front-end web application code for this scientific gateway is isolated within a dedicated VPC. The S3 storage is further isolated and has specific limited access controls. A serverless PostgreSQL database running under the AWS service RDS is also isolated. Load balancing and scaling for the web tier is also performed within the VPC. All access for the entire system is granularly controlled, logged, and auditable. The front end introducing the scientific gateway is hosted at the public website BrainViz.net. Here are the features of the BrainViz Scientific Gateway. First, a user may learn about the gateway from the public website just mentioned, BrainViz.net, and choose to create an account. As part of account generation, a user may establish their contact information, institutional affiliation, and their password, including the ability to reset their password as needed. Once within the gateway, a user may learn about and request to join a collaborative community. Once accepted to a community, a user may learn about projects and data specifications for the community, including things such as data sets the gateway will allow a user to upload. When a compliant data set is uploaded, a user will be able to select from one or more AI models to apply to the uploaded data set. Following the workflow including application of an AI model, a user may visualize the results of the model output. Finally, data sharing will be allowed to the user either in terms of the original raw data that was submitted or the derivatives or reports generated afterwards. Past work by our team, we trained and implemented an AI model that predicts the future medication class performance in a mood disorders research program. In that project, the trained model predicts optimum medication response for either antidepressants or mood stabilizers using just a given subject's resting state fMR scan. This AI model was developed from resting state fMR scans collected at 2 sites. The AI model is currently being validated using external but similar data sets from a major depression clinical trial called EMBARK and a bipolar disorder consortium, LA5C. One major purpose of the BrainViz Scientific Gateway is to offer expansion of this AI model in terms of diversity of scanner types, scanner parameters, subject types, geographic locations, such that the model's robustness can be evaluated. In this reference project, BrainViz allows a user to do the following steps within a self-contained workflow. First, for subject data protection, the uploaded data set will be fully de-identified and original data will be discarded. Second, the data set will be converted into the BIDS format. BIDS is a community standard for neuroimaging research. Following the conversion to BIDS, the data set will be pre-processed using a pipeline configured for resting state fMR. Next, the results of the pre-processing will serve as the input into a spatially constrained independent component analysis using a specific template called NeuroMark, which is described elsewhere. The output from the spatially constrained ICA will serve as input to a support vector machine neural network, whose then output will be used to predict the medication class response for the given subject scan. This output can be also summarized into a standardized report. A sample report that summarizes the output of the AI model has been provided on the left part of this slide. The report is organized into 3 main parts. The header portion at the top section of the report summarizes subject and scan metadata. As stated previously, the subject name and some other information may not be available unless permitted to be disclosed, such as in a clinical setting. Next, the medication profile section of the report first provides an overall recommendation for medication class. In this case, BrainViz recommends treating with antidepressants medication class. To interpret the model results, 4 additional items are provided to the user. A similarity metric and a confidence metric are provided. Further, the 2 strongest components from the information network are provided, in this case the precuneus posterior cingulate and the hippocampus. Finally, the quality of the provided resting state fMR scan is provided. BrainViz users may interact with other community members for a given project and access relevant documentation and resources, including a forum. Further, BrainViz users may share anonymized or pre-processed data with other users. This will expand the network of users engaged in mood disorders research to help further validate and generalize this prediction model. Our hope is to establish a diverse collection of scanners, sites, and subjects within our training, testing, and validation samples for the AI model. We will use this scientific gateway to prepare for clinical trials where the safety and efficacy of using the BrainViz medication classifier as a clinical decision support system will be evaluated. Finally, other projects using MR imaging and phenotype information for predicting treatment options, disease severity, or disease progression will be explored using BrainViz. expanding its utility across other psychiatric and neurological disorders. We have presented the BrainViz Scientific Gateway as a cloud tool that provides the translational research community access to an AI model for prediction of medication class response in a mood disorder, bipolar versus major depression. BrainViz permits crowdsourcing data collection in these disorders where members of the consortium may contribute de-identified data sets that expand the diversity of the model's training and validation. After completion of clinical trials for establishing safety and efficacy, this gateway feature could serve as a future clinical support system for clinicians, assisting with decision-making in the treatment of mental illnesses. Thanks for listening to this presentation. Please direct any correspondence to jbockholt@gsu.edu listed at the beginning of this presentation. Here is the list of cited references for this presentation. Note well, references are contained within square brackets. For example, the Django reference is listed as left square bracket 1, right square bracket.